Welcome to the Deep Dive, your shortcut to understanding complex ideas. Today we're delving into something pretty profound, divine order and harmony. We'll be looking specifically through the lens of Islamic theology and some really intriguing numerical and geometric patterns. We've got some material here that promises some, well, surprising facts, maybe offering a fresh way to appreciate just how meticulous the universe's design might be.
Absolutely. And it's quite remarkable, how grasping these principles from the big cosmic picture down to these intricate numerical codes can really unlock a deeper appreciation for the universe, yes, but maybe even for ourselves.
Okay, so let's unpack this right from the start. You mentioned a foundational concept in the material, Qadar. What exactly is that? Why is it so fundamental here?
Right, Kadar. Well, at its core, it's the divine decree, or you could say the precise measurement of all things. It presents a picture of a universe that's operating with absolute order, absolute precision, not just chance.
No randomness.
Exactly. And the sources explain this through a couple of key ideas. First, there's something called the preserved tablet, or Lahu Mahfuz.
Okay.
Think of it like a celestial divine ledger, a master record. Everything is eternally inscribed there. Major historical events, sure, but also every single person's life story, their actions, their outcomes, everything.
Wow.
Yeah, it really reinforces this idea of a meticulously planned blueprint.
That idea, a divine master plan, eternally written down, it's huge. It does make you wonder, though, where does human choice fit in? How does the material square that blueprint with, human effort?
That's a really key question, and it brings us to another concept, Allah's absolute will, or mashia. This is the divine command that sort of translates that knowledge from the preserved tablet into actual reality. It brings everything into being.
So nothing happens without it.
Nothing happens without it. Now, you're right, sometimes people see a tension there with human free will. But the way it's often understood is that Allah's will provides the cosmic framework. It sets up the possibilities, the stage, you could say. And within that framework, human beings are given the freedom to choose their path.
Ah, I see. So it's not like every tiny action is dictated, but the overall possibilities are set.
Exactly. It's the grand stage for our choices, not necessarily pulling every string.
That's a crucial distinction. So, okay, if there's this grand cosmic framework, how does that connect to our lives day to day? Does it mean we should just, sit back and let things unfold?
Oh, definitely not. Actually, Islam puts a very strong emphasis on human effort, Ikhtiar. The Quran, the Prophet's teachings, they're full of instructions to strive, to work hard, to seek knowledge.
So it pushes back against fatalism.
Completely. It's a direct refutation of any idea that human action doesn't matter because it's all predetermined. I mean, you have verses like, man shall have nothing but what he strives for. That's pretty explicit.
Yeah, it is.
And you also have that very practical, relatable advice from the Prophet Muhammad. Trust Allah and tie your camel.
I love that. Tie your camel. It's so grounded.
It is. It perfectly captures the balance. So yes, human effort isn't just like a worldly necessity. It's considered an act of worship, part of fulfilling our role.
Okay, so it's about doing your absolute best, putting in the work, and then trusting the outcome.
Precisely. That's the heart of tawakkul. It's often translated as reliance on God, but it's an active reliance. It's definitely not passive surrender. It means you do everything you possibly can, use all the proper means available,
Right.
and then you leave the final result to Allah. And think about the psychological benefit there. It can protect you from despair if you fail, but also from arrogance if you succeed.
That makes a lot of sense. Fosters humility.
Humility, gratitude, resilience. There's the example of Prophet Yaqub in the Quran. He showed immense patience, beautiful patience, it's called. But that was always combined with proactive steps, with planning. It's striving hard, but being content with whatever Allah decrees in the end.
Okay, that gives us a really good grounding in Qadar and effort. Now, building on that idea of meticulous design, let's shift gears. The material you shared also talks about this really unique system. It's about unlocking the Quran's harmony through numbers and geometry.
Yeah.
It's called the Quran Pentagon System.
Yes, the Quran Pentagon system. It's fascinating. Imagine the Quran not just as text, but as, well, maybe like a masterpiece with this hidden mathematical structure, a kind of cosmic DNA, if you like.
Okay.
This system, it comes from a work called Buku Temujanji Yusuf's appointment book. And its a core idea is something called Zikir Belangen. That means roughly remembrance through numbers.
Remembrance through numbers.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. It's designed to explore what it calls the Quran's numerical and divine geometry miracles. And it specifically focuses on the interplay between 5 lines of poetry, 25 prophets mentioned in the Quran, and 19 signs of Tawhid, the oneness of God.
So it's like looking for a multi-layered code within the Quran. That sounds incredibly intricate.
It is intricate. The system proposes that you can unpack 3 distinct layers of Quranic miracles. First, the literal level, the stories, the guidance, like the stories of the prophets. Second, the numeric level, which they call ijaz adadi. These are the numerical patterns. And third, the geometric level, which is expressed through the specific 525 pentagon pattern. It's about finding how these layers connect.
Let's talk about those numbers. They
Okay.
seem really key. Tell us about the power of numbers in this system, maybe starting with 5.
Okay, number 5. It's absolutely fundamental. It's the basis of the pentagon shape itself, right? And within this system, the pentagon symbolizes perfection, balance, harmony. It gets linked directly to the 5 Rukun Islam, the pillars of Islam, and the 5 daily prayers. And also, there's a 5-line poetic summary, the Inti Puisi, used for each surah in this system. So 5 is really foundational, signals completeness.
Got it. 5 for foundations, harmony. What about 25? How does that number fit in?
25 is significant because, well, mathematically it's 5 squared, 5 times 5. And it symbolizes the 25 prophets who are mentioned by name in the Quran.
Oh, okay.
And there are interesting details, like the name of Nabi Adam, the first prophet, apparently appears exactly 25 times. It reinforces that connection.
That's quite specific. Suggests a deliberate pattern.
That's the idea.
And then there's 19. That number comes up a lot in discussions about Quranic numerical patterns, doesn't it? What's its role here?
It certainly does. Here, number 19 is termed the code of Tawhid, the code of God's oneness. It gets highlighted from a specific verse in Surah Al-Mudaththir, verse 30, which mentions, over it are 19. Being a prime number, it's seen to symbolize the absolute unity, the indivisibility of Allah.
Okay.
And you find it appearing in various patterns, like the total number of surahs, 114, is exactly 19 multiplied by 6. And then there's this intriguing calculation they point out. Take the 25 prophets, subtract the 19 for Tawhid, you get 6.
Which relates to...
The 6 Rukun Iman, the pillars of faith. And then if you add those 6 pillars of faith to the 5 pillars of Islam, you get 11, which reduces numerologically to 2. 1 plus 1 is 2. And that 2 is said to symbolize dualitas langit bumi, the duality of heaven and earth.
Wow, okay. That's a lot of interconnectedness packed into those numbers.
Mm-hmm.
It really does feel like a kind of divine cryptography.
That's a good way to put it. It suggests a really profound theological framework embedded in the numbers. It elevates them beyond just coincidence.
When you first came across this level of detail, was there a specific pattern that just made you go, aha, something that really stood out?
For me, it was offer the unexpected links, like the number 28. Mathematically, you can get 28 from 2 squared plus 5 squared. 4 plus 25 equals 28.
Right.
And this number connects directly to a verse in the Surah Al-Jinn, verse 28, which says, and Allah counts everything one by one. Plus 28 is also the number of letters in the Arabic alphabet, the Hijai letters.
Wow.
Yeah. So that idea of divine precision embedded right down to the letters of the revelation itself. That's what really makes you stop and think.
The precision down to the letters.
Yeah.
That is powerful. Now, this framework you mentioned also tries to connect ancient wisdom with modern science. How does it bridge that gap?
Well, the system tries to show an integration. It takes ilm al-huruf, which is this ancient science of the numerical values of Arabic letters,
Okay.
and connects it with modern mathematical principles that we all know. Things like the Pythagorean theorem, A plus B abhors C phi, a cornerstone of geometry. And even the golden ratio, phi, which is about 1.618.
Right. The golden ratio pops up everywhere in nature and art.
Yeah.
So what's the implication for science here? Is the idea that the Quran contains scientific formulas?
Not exactly formulas in a textbook sense. The argument is more that the Quran expresses these underlying mathematical truths, these constants, that science then discovers in the natural world. We see the golden ratio, like you said, everywhere, the spiral of a shell, human body proportions, how leaves are arranged. It's a pattern of natural beauty, of balance. Mm-hmm.
So the Quran Pentagon system suggests that this ratio and other mathematical truths like Pythagoras are expressions of Qadar's harmony. They're manifestations of Allah's precisely measured creation. It implies the universe isn't random. It's governed by consistent, logical, divine laws that science can observe.
Okay, so this system provides a framework for analyzing the whole Quran, all 114 surahs, chapter by chapter. How does that work on a practical level?
Yes, it applies a consistent method to each surah. First, each one gets a sajak pentagon, that 5-line poetic summary capturing its essence. Then, the narrative of each surah is analyzed through 5 universal phases of a spiritual journey. Premillennian, the beginning; Ujian, the test or trial; Perhuangan, the struggle; Rahmat, God's mercy; and finally, Tawhid, reaffirming monotheism.
And the numerical insights, the ijaz, adadi, come in for each surah too. Can you give us a few examples of what that looks like?
Sure. Let's take Al-Fatiha, the opening chapter. It has 7 verses. The system links this 7 to the 7 heavens. And the opening phrase, Bismillah, has 19 letters.
Or Al-Baqarah, the really long second chapter, 286 verses. The numerical structure there is proposed to symbolically link to the 8 doors of heaven, and its overall harmony is said to relate back to the 25 prophets. Even short surahs like Al-Ikhlas, with 4 verses. Its numerical aspect points to the core of monotheism, and its theme is even said to align with the golden ratio.
That's interesting.
And you have surahs like Al-Masad and Al-Falaq, both having exactly 5 verses each, that directly reinforces the pentagon symbol again. Even Anas, with 6 verses, is seen to have a pattern linking to universal protection. It's about seeing this symbolism pentagon, this pentagonal symmetry, reflected everywhere, connecting back to the pillars of Islam and the golden ratio.
So you see these patterns in individual chapters. Does the system reveal any broader narrative patterns when you look across the Makkiyah and Madaniya surahs, the ones revealed in Mecca versus Medina?
Yes, it does highlight some general trends. The Makkiyah surahs, revealed earlier, often place a strong emphasis on eschatology themes, like the Day of Judgment, the afterlife. You see that in surahs like Al-Qari'ah. Whereas the Madaniya surahs, revealed later in Medina when the Muslim community was being established, tend to focus more on law, community building, social justice, like parts of An-Nisa dealing with fairness and inheritance.
So it shows a kind of strategic unfolding of the revelation.
Exactly, a progression in guidance that matched the needs of the community as it developed.
Okay, this is all deeply fascinating from a theological and analytical perspective, but let's bring it back to the listener. What does this all mean for you? How does understanding this divine order, this qadar, and maybe even this intricate numerical system, how does that impact someone's actual faith in daily life?
Well, the practical implications can be quite profound. Firstly, truly internalizing qadar can deeply strengthen faith and trust in God, that concept of tawakkul we discussed. When you really believe that all events, the good and the challenging, are part of a divinely measured system, it fosters incredible patience, resilience. It can really reduce anxiety and despair.
Yeah, I can see that.
There's a verse, "No calamity befalls except by Allah's permission." Understanding qadar helps you live that. It encourages gratitude when things go well and patience when they don't, knowing it's all part of a bigger, wiser plan.
That's a powerful way to navigate life's uncertainties, finding peace in that larger design. What about how it affects, say, our pursuit of knowledge or science?
That's another key area. Far from discouraging science, understanding qadar properly encourages it. If the universe is the creation of an all-knowing God, then it's like a vast book of science, ayat, just waiting to be read and understood.
So scientific exploration becomes a form of worship.
In a way, yes. It's discovering the beautiful, consistent laws that Allah has put in place. The Quran itself urges, "Lord, increase me in knowledge." Historically, this perspective drove Muslims to make advances in fields like astronomy, needed for determining prayer times and direction. And today, it could inspire someone studying, say, neuroscience, to better understand the complexity of the human brain as one of Allah's signs in yourselves.
So it's really about seeing faith and science not as opposed, but as complementary ways of understanding the same ultimate reality. That's a really neat integration.
Precisely. They become 2 paths leading towards understanding the same divine truth. And just briefly, the system itself even suggests pedagogical uses, ways to teach this, using interactive maps, QR codes linking to videos, worksheets for the number patterns, making it engaging for learners.
Making these potentially complex ideas more accessible.
Exactly, interactive and multidisciplinary.
Well, this deep dive into qadar and the Quran Pentagon system certainly paints a picture of a universe that's anything but random. It suggests an exquisite, measurable design and purpose underlying everything. It really is like finding hidden architecture.
It is. And what's truly compelling is how these different threads, divine decree, human responsibility, these intricate numerical patterns all seem to weave together. They point towards a cohesive, intelligent design. It really invites all of us to look beyond the surface, doesn't it? To appreciate the harmony that might be governing existence.
Absolutely. So a final thought for you listening. What other areas of your own life, or perhaps what other fields of knowledge, might reveal similar hidden patterns, similar profound harmony? If you approach them with this kind of lens, a curiosity about underlying order, an openness to, let's say, divine precision, what new depths of understanding might you uncover?